cat. Everybody laughing.
Good evening and welcome to Posse Presents. Caught me again. I love that song. I can't help it. I'm sorry. Anyway, good evening. Welcome to Posse Presents. Thank you for joining me tonight. I know that there's a lot of Halloween stuff going on this weekend, and it is truly my favorite holiday. Last year we got kind of wrecked because we had our storm, and this year it looks like we may have a repeat performance of getting wrecked for Halloween. But I'll talk about that a little more at the end of the show. I'm going to start out with a begging, pleading appeal. You've heard me talking about them for months, as far back as February. What I'm going to be begging and pleading for are the lives of Bonnie and Clyde. Bonnie and Clyde have been in the Branford Animal Shelter since probably February. There they are with my little rendition of, you know, all the Bonnie and Clydes. There's the real Bonnie and Clyde and the movie Bonnie and Clyde and our very own canine duo, Bonnie and Clyde. They've now been pretty much given an expiration date. I called the Branford Animal Shelter earlier this week, and they have until at least Halloween to live. Bonnie is getting very depressed. She's losing weight. She's really not thriving. Like I've said so many times, some dogs can handle a shelter environment and some can't. Clyde, on the other hand, is doing fine. There's the two of them just hanging out in the grass. Look at those faces. They're such happy dogs when they're together. They're almost 8 years old. Clyde is neutered. Bonnie is spayed. I'm not sure what their status of their vaccinations are, but you know, really that's the least of your problems. They're seemingly healthy. They're very good with children. They love people, Bonnie especially so. You know, not only is she needy, there's Bonnie again, and I've learned that, you know, Bonnie's got the narrow wide stripe on her head, and Clyde has the thicker one. They look at Clyde, what a ham he is. I mean, they're so much fun. Everybody who's ever met them has said that they are just absolutely delightful. Yes, they really need to stay together. They're at the point where Bonnie is so dependent on Clyde now that she really won't tolerate another dog too well, but that doesn't necessarily mean that that's going to be a permanent situation. She probably is clinging very hard to the only good thing in her world right now, and that is Clyde. The shelter has tried to separate the two, but neither dog does well when they're separated. They stop eating, they get even more depressed. So really what we're trying to find for them is a home together where they can live the rest of their lives together. And they've spent 8 years together, and you know, I can't imagine separating my own dogs after them having been together for 10 years. They become part of each other's world. They become just like you and I would be if you know, we lost each other and we were friends. It's pretty serious stuff. You can't just expect them to go through those changes, because it's not like you can explain to them, you know, why and what's happening and all of that. So Bonnie and Clyde, like I said, really good with kids. They had been adopted earlier this year and dumped unceremoniously back at a pound because there was a poor introduction to a pet bird, and the pet bird did not survive the introduction. Bonnie did not particularly, maybe she enjoyed it a little too much. I don't know. I keep trying to make light of it because it really was no reason to dump them at a kill facility. You know, yeah, fine. Bonnie may not be good with small animals. She may not, I don't know how she is with cats, if she's ever been tested. She's so-so with other dogs. But the two of them are a pack just waiting to happen. They just want to crash on your couch. You know, they probably have a few more years. They're healthy. If you've got a home where they can thrive, that would be awesome. There is actually a an incentive to a rescue, and you can contact me personally at pawprints713@aol.com, and I can explain a little more on that, to a rescue who can put them in a foster home and keep them together, not just throw them in another kennel or a cage, you know, or a garage or what have you. That is for a actual nonprofit 501c3 legitimate facility that can put them in a foster home. Bonnie and Clyde really, they may be extended beyond Halloween, but right now, what has been relayed to me is that that's uncertain. So, especially with the storm coming, we really have to network them to safety. And if we lose power, if anything crazy happens, we're going to lose time to network them. They've been all over Facebook. And, you know, if you're on Facebook, please go to Pound Posse Presents page, pick them up, share them. I did an article in my column. You can share that. It's like all hands on deck. We really have to find them a place to go. A few weeks ago, there was a dog named Sadie, and the man who saved her drove here from Nebraska to come and adopt her and save her life. Now, if that can happen, I really believe that we can network for Bonnie and Clyde. And I'm relying on all of my viewers. You know, we're over 3,000 on YouTube now, so somebody's watching. Please get the word out about Bonnie and Clyde, because they're going to take a piece of me with them if they're killed. They really are. I've been championing for them since the beginning of the year, and they've slipped through too many cracks. It's really time for them to go home, or they're not going to have that chance. The Branford Animal Shelter, give them a call for any further information, 203-315-4125. That's 203-315-4125. And that leads us to move on to our guest from last week, which is Penny. There she is. We took some pictures while she was here in the studio. And there she is. She has, as far as I know, I haven't talked to her foster mom in a couple of days. She's still looking for a home. I believe she's in boarding now. The landlord just would not bend on keeping her any longer. She had an evaluation from a trainer. The trainer has deemed her to be non-aggressive. She just needs to be around a more submissive dog. She's very trainable. She has lots of potential, and she really is in a desperate need of a home, because I really don't know how long Kristen's going to be able to keep her in boarding. That's a rather large task when you're having to finance that yourself. So if you're interested in Penny, I can put you in touch with Kristen. Email me at pawprints713@aol.com. That's pawprints713@aol.com. And real quick, before we get back to me, let's show the dogs at Hartford this week. They have a couple, they did a really nice picture this time. They have really such nice graphics when they put their pictures together. But they have Masquerade and they have Disguise, both urgent for Halloween. And they've had some pretty good names this last week or so. They've had Hocus Pocus and Treats and Tricks and all that. But if you look at these dogs, they're absolutely beautiful. Those are their urgent dates. Hartford only holds them for 10 days. And on the 10th day, if they're not adopted, then that's the end of the line for them. So please don't let that happen. Like I said, they're both gorgeous dogs. If you go on Facebook to the City of Hartford Animal Shelter page, you can see the specifics about each dog. They give really great descriptions of the dogs, and you can go and meet them ahead of time, put in your application, and hopefully get them safe. There have been some nail biters in the last week where things kind of got a little out of control, and we weren't sure if these dogs were safe when we hoped they would be. So let's not let that happen this week. Let's get them safe and move it on. Okay, so now you get to look at me again. Aren't you all lucky? And I just want to say a few words about the storm, okay? everybody's talking about the storm. I don't know. There's so many spins you can take on it. I have kind of had my own personal head in the sand because I really don't want to hear it. Especially after last year, I still have too bad of a taste in my mouth after having no power for 5 days, and it was a nightmare. It was cold. It was ridiculous. And so now we're coming up on the same time of year, and we're looking at another major storm. But the thing that I want to impress upon everyone is, first and foremost, they're talking about evacuations. They're talking about making plans to go be somewhere other than where you live. It is not okay to leave any of your pets behind, period. I don't care if it's a bird. I don't care if it's a hamster. I don't care if it's a goldfish. It's not okay to leave it behind. You have made the commitment to that animal, and you are responsible for its life. And you need to have a container for a fish. You need to have something where it can breathe. You need to have I'm sure you have a transport or a smaller cage for a bird. Your hamster, your gerbil, your ferret, whatever you've got, you already should have something to transport it in. Keep that handy. Make sure you know where it is. Clean it up if it's been sitting and collecting dust. If you've got cats, cats belong in a carrier if you're going to transport them. Your dogs, you know your dogs best. Some of them love the car, some of them don't. If you're going to be packing all kinds of other stuff in the car, you may want to confine your dog in a crate or a carrier. But it's absolutely not okay to leave them behind. Some shelters will take animals. Most shelters will not. I read something on Facebook just before I left the house that the Middletown shelter is taking animals. But I'm very sure that you will have to have your pets all up to date on their vaccines and proof of that. So that's something that you might want to dig up from your records if you know that they are up to date. You really need to make a kit. They talk about making a kit for yourself, but you really need to make a kit for your pets as well, because they also need water. They also need food. If you've got a pet that is on medication, you should have the pet's medication packed. If your pet has any kind of medical issue, you should have medical records to prove what the issues are and what the treatments are and the medications. Bring anything pertinent, have that packed and ready to go, because you don't know if something happens and you have to see a vet and it's not your own vet because it's your vet is wiped out by the storm or something. There's no common database, just like with people, for your pets. So that you can explain what's going on with you, but a strange vet, if you have to see one, is not going to know what's going on with your pet. And the best way to do it to protect them in all cases of emergency, again, to be prepared, have their medical records handy. You should probably, and I learned this from a woman who teaches classes about this kind of stuff, have pictures of your pets, and not just a picture of your pet, but a picture of you with your pet to prove ownership should you get separated or your pet get lost in a disaster. That's a brilliant idea, because I could have a picture of your dog and say, hey, yeah, that's my dog. But if it's me with the dog, then, it establishes at least some sort of a connection if you're trying to find an animal. Or, if something happens, you get separated. It's just all about being smart. Again, proof of vaccinations, medications, food, water, dishes, all that stuff that I had to pack up for a couple of days last year with the dogs, and it was crazy. I had more stuff packed for them than I did for me. Bowls, food, everything that they needed. You might want to bring some toys and some treats and try to make them comfortable, their favorite things, because if you have to evacuate and bring your pets, it's going to be crazy. It's not like you're staying in a room with them. It's going to be like a big open area. There's going to be carriers. And a lot of places, it's the only way you're going to be able to bring them in is in carriers, and they're going to stay crated unless they're walked and stuff. It's going to be a lot of chaos. So you want to if you have a dog with anxiety, don't forget anxiety medication. You know, you've got to think it all through as you're making the preparations for yourself. Make them for your pets as well. And you know, if you've got any misgivings and you think you can board them, go board them. If you think like your small animals should go stay with somebody else who's not maybe in as much of a zone where you are, where you might have to evacuate, put them someplace with somebody that you trust and just be safe. Because that's what it all boils down to. You're responsible for them. It's not okay to leave them. If your house floods, or you know, tie them out in the yard or let them go to fend for themselves, it's completely unacceptable, and it just can't happen. And while I'm on a roll, I'm going to talk about Halloween and pet safety, because Halloween is Wednesday, and there's a lot of dangers that you probably wouldn't even think about for your pet. You know, pets can get scared by masks and costumes and a lot of activity with children. So your best bet, if you're expecting trick-or-treaters at your house, put your animals in a place where A, they can't get out the door every time you open it, B, where they can't even, I mean, if you have a room that you could put them in just to keep them safe and away from the action, they may resent being in the room, but it'll probably be a lot better than having them run out the door. Then you're chasing them, they're scared by kids, they're scared by costumes. Just, you know, crate them in the other room, put them in the other room, keep them away from the action, and I think that your pets will be far better off. Never give your dogs Halloween candy, or, you know, make sure you pick up the wrappers so the cats don't swallow the cellophane. A lot of things to think about. Make sure if you've got little kids and they're enjoying their Halloween candy, that you are the adult. Make sure you take that candy and keep it in a place where your animals can't get to it. They're going to get sick. And, you know, that's not fair to the animal. Sure, they're going to try to get it, but it's not the dog's fault, because that's what a dog does. You're the human, you're the adult, you need to supervise that stuff. And if it means putting the candy where the kids can't even get it so you can be extra sure, then do it, because there's nothing, you can't rewind. You know, you can't go back and undo the damage, and you can't get mad at the animal. And I'm also going to mention, don't take your pets trick-or-treating either, for the same reasons. You know, the costumes can be scary, the activity can be scary. You know, you get like your dog all excited and it starts to act up, and it's just frustrating. And to make it even worse, there was a thing on Facebook these last couple of months where somebody has called for Halloween to be like kill a pit bull night. And that is just, you know, if you've read it on Facebook, you know what I'm talking about. There's like this whole anti-pit bull campaign, and I think that extends probably, and a lot of sick people would want to harm, you know, if you've got a black cat, or actually I've read that white cats are even in more danger around Halloween for sickos that are out there doing ugly things. So really make sure your pets are inside. Don't take any chances. You know, when you've got somebody with, whether they're just trying to get attention or they think they're funny, posting stuff like that, it was everywhere. It was in the media. It was all over Facebook. People were sharing it left and right. I refused to give the guy any kind of glorification myself, but I am going to mention it to all of you for what it's worth, just to sort of to try to impress keeping your pets safe, because that's, again, your responsibility. And if there's the potential for harm, then you're best just not to even entertain it or court disaster, and keep them safe. That's what it's all about. Now, Halloween being my favorite holiday, we all know that I have Mojo. And I picked, you know, you adopt a dog, you don't know when they're born, you kind of guess. And so I picked Halloween to be his birthday, and he got just, you know, he got a raw deal last year, because Halloween was his birthday, and we were sitting in the dark, in the cold, and there he is the night he came to the studio. So he will be my little 2-year-old come Halloween. And, you know, see that little blur that's his tail, because he's just like so happy and so silly. But yeah, Mojo's going to be 2, and we're going to hope that we're not riding the ark somewhere, or, you know, living in the car because the house blew away or something like that. Oh, there's his calendar picture, because Zach loves to do that for me. But yeah, you can still get you can still contact me about those calendars, and I'll fill you in on those. But that's that. And all right, back to me. Happy birthday, Mojo. We'll see what happens for you for your birthday. I'll tell you, he's definitely, I don't know, has he brought this weather along with him into my life or what? But I'm just hoping that all this storm hullabaloo is just hullabaloo. It kind of doesn't seem like it, but I don't know. You know, I think, like, even with all the best preparations, if it's going to be a disaster, it's going to be a disaster, and there's nothing you can do about it. Going to talk about an event or two here. There is the Animal Rescue Foundation / Bring Timmy Home barbecue on Saturday, this Saturday the 3rd, between 11 and 4, and that's at the Polish American Political Club. And they're going to have live music and raffles and food, and it's going to be a lot of fun. If you want more information about that, you can call 860-729-8483. That's 860-729-8483. For those of you familiar with Timmy or not familiar with Timmy, you can go to the Facebook page, Bring Timmy Home, and get all of the information. Timmy was adopted last year in February, and the same day that he went home, he got loose, and he has been on the lam ever since. He's kind of centered himself around Thomaston Avenue, and he's pretty much been, you know, the quarry, the woods, the train tracks. There's a lot of ground to cover there. And there have been sightings. They know he's out there, and it's you know, there's been traps set and cameras posted and people been out there, and it's been an all-out campaign for the better part of a year. But he's quite elusive, and they're still trying to, you know, fuel their campaign to get him home. You know, it's really sad to think of a dog out there alone most of the year. He survived, you know, it was pretty cold still in February. There was snow on the ground. He's been out there the whole summer. It was pretty warm this summer. And yet it seems that he's surviving. He was a dog who didn't really live indoors and all that before he came up here. So, you know, he's maybe a little more prepared than anybody would think, but do support that page. Go check it out. See what you can do to help. They still hang posters and have searches and all that. Check out their event. There's an open house at Little Shop of Howlers on Sunday, 11/4, from 1 to 4. And that's in Hamden. And there's going to be games and vendors and demos, a costume contest. And I find it really cool. There's going to be a grooming competition. So, you know, to see what these groomers can do, and some of them can do some pretty interesting stuff, and it's very impressive. So if you're looking for more information on that, 203-288-3330. That's 203-288-3330. And I'm just going to make one last appeal for Bonnie and Clyde. I know I've got a few minutes left, and probably got a little ahead of myself here because I'm on a roll, but things happen and life goes on. You know, Bonnie and Clyde, they really should be the only dogs, unless, you know, if you brought your dog along and saw how they did, you could be pleasantly surprised. I mean, sometimes Dog Selective is truly that. You know, you always have to be prepared when you bring a new animal into your house to manage the introduction, to manage the situation. You know, you're not going to throw strange dogs in a room together and be like, here, peace, deal with it. You know, even Mojo, as good as he was, I was hesitant to leave him loose with my dogs when I left the first time after I got him home. You know, I crated him. It's not the end of the world. If you've got a big enough home where you can separate Bonnie and Clyde from the rest of your house. And that's something you should do anyway in the beginning when you've got a dog and you've got it home from the pound, and especially if there's two, at least you don't have to feel bad. The two of them will be together. Separate them and keep them, keep them apart from all the busyness in your house if you've got a busy house. And even if you don't, if you've got other animals, just keep them, let them decompress, let them get used to the sights and the sounds and the smells. You know, whoever introduced them to a bird like that, you know, you've got a bird brain. I mean, come on, really? I can't imagine what you were thinking to stick a cockatiel in the face of a big dog like that that's never seen one. If the bird wasn't in a cage, you were asking for trouble. I'm really, really going to just like blame the people on that. I mean, come on. I have birds, and I had a breeding pair of lovebirds, and I came home from work one day, and I thought it was just like a chewed up toy on the floor, and I stopped myself short of leaning down and picking it up with my bare hand, and I'm glad I did. One of the babies thought the grass was greener on the other side of the cage, let himself out, flew around my living room, and you could see where he knocked into stuff and, you know, had himself a field day. Now, with 4 dogs and a cat, it's anybody's guess who finished off the bird, okay? This was lunchtime. I was not a happy camper. I'm going to tell you that I ranted and raved and, you know, said all kinds of things to these animals that you probably would never have expected me to say. I told them I wasn't talking to them, and, you know, I was devastated. This poor thing didn't stand a chance, which is another reason why I would never clip wings in my house, because at least then if they get out, they do stand a chance. So things happen. Anyway, I'm being told I have like 30 seconds left. I've talked and talked and talked. Please network Bonnie and Clyde. Peace, love, and dogs. And happy Halloween. We'll see you next week, and thank you for joining me. Stay safe, everybody. That's the most important thing, and don't leave your pets at home. Have a lovely rest of the weekend. You don't have